I'm Greg, and I'm a member of Shadow Hunters Paranormal and Events team, and I'm here tonight with the Shadow Hour. This is a program that we go ahead and I usually talk to people that are associated with me in one form or the other with the paranormal. And it's one of those days where you sit back and you really wonder about where you're at in your life and what's been going on. And it's great to go ahead and have someone that can go ahead and touch you in that direction or make you feel right in that direction. And usually it's a person like my guest. This is Devin Evans. She's a psychic medium. She's the Ohio chapter person for Shadow Hunters. And she's also runs, besides the Shadow Hunters group, which is a paranormal group, she runs a Psychic Unite group in Ohio. So with no more further ado, here she is. This is Devin Evans. She's a great lady. I've had the pleasure of many conversations with her, and she's just another one of those one in a million. So Devin, welcome. Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. What an introduction. That was fascinating. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with everyone, and I'm just honored to be here and be your guest, Greg. I appreciate that.
Devin and I met quite a while ago. The first time we met in person was at the Rose Hotel, and I had invited her to come over for an investigation we were doing there. And Devin came in with an open mind and did an awesome job that night. And her and I had an experience together which was very hard to beat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it back to the lady that made it all happen and let her explain it to you.
Oh, you're so kind. So a little bit before I share that story, and it is an amazing story, I wanted to just do a little background, if I could, about my gifts, because it kind of ties into the experience that we had together at the Rhodes. Hi, Sharon.
Sharon says hi.
Hi.
We've got a cricket in here somewhere.
So I that has to be on my...
What happened? Where did Devin go? What happened? I don't know. Was that on your end? Can you hear me or not? I can't hear you. Is your mic on? Here you look better. You were cloudy. I still can't hear you.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
That was me. That was my end. The cricket that you're hearing, that just started during my live show last night, and I don't know what it is. So
it's on the line. It's on the line, Devin. I just thought I'd bring it up before they started to comment on it, because you know how the people get.
It's my little conscience, Jiminy Cricket.
Spirit bug.
Yeah, it's my spirit bug. I'm gonna have to go back and do some troubleshooting on that. I don't know what's happening, but anyway, what I was gonna share is that I'm a psychic medium, like you said. Thank you. I have always had gifts since I was a young child. My situation, though, is that I took them for granted. For the longest time, I just assumed everyone, like I wasn't special, and that everyone had the same experiences that I do. And so I also felt that my natural tendencies to question things, to investigate things that I was taught, things that were shared with me. I'd always want to question, especially if they didn't resonate with me. And then part of that discovery led me to things like automatic writing, tarot cards, meditation, and trying to find my spirit guides, which I had no idea at the time that if you are talking with your spirit guides, that is a form of mediumship. So when you're psychic and you're a medium, you are actually speaking to spirits on the other side, or have crossed, who have transcended. So either they're on the other side, or they are spirits that have passed away and decided to stay here on this plane, and that's what we call ghosts. So just a little discernation between spirits who are like our guides or our loved ones who've crossed over, and then ghosts who decided to stay here. So for the longest time, like I said, for years, decades really, I felt called and pulled to this work, but I had no idea that I was actually supposed to be working in the capacity that I am today. And I'm so grateful because, you feel like you're supposed to conform and fit into a social idea. You feel like, oh, the best thing for me obviously is a job, a really good job in corporate. And one of my strongest gifts is an empath. I think a lot of us are empaths. And what is particular about being an empath, if you aren't acknowledging it and being aware of it and really honoring what your energy feels like versus someone else, you're just walking around feeling everyone else's energy, just literally feeling insane. This would happen a lot, especially in a corporate setting. And you work with what you can. You find ways to deal with it. You find ways to get through with it. But in the end, what happens is you end up just being really unhappy, and you end up being really out of touch with yourself and out of alignment with yourself. So as the universe does, when we start to stray off of our alignment, it will put things in our path to show us what we prefer and what we should move toward. And so that's like the real high level version of where the last couple of years came into play, where I was actually getting specific messages. So what would happen is I wouldn't know what was going on or how I was supposed to be working with stuff. I just knew that I wasn't happy where I was at, and I wanted to do something more. I wanted to help others, serve others in a more spiritual capacity. And so I would seek out other people who were doing readings for a living already. And, get guidance from them, get perspectives. I was getting a lot of repeat messages. If I were to go and get a reading like once every 3 to 6 months, I'd get a lot of the same repeat messages. And eventually those messages went from, you are supposed to be working in a different capacity. The timing's not quite right. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep opening up. Keep releasing. And then over the course of a year and a half, then the messages were all, you realize that you're psychic, right? You're just, you have the same gifts as I do, the person I was sitting with, and you're actually supposed to be doing this work. So I'd gotten that message from Scotty Rourke. Actually, he and his wife Terry Rourke is the founder of Psychics Unite, and Scotty Rourke is a fantastic, experienced psychic medium that practices out of Wisconsin. He gave me that message too, and he was like, I want to see you in the booth right next to me. And for whatever that was, the message coming from him is the way that it came, the way that it was supposed to come for me to start taking action. So that was it was over a year ago now, and I had decided to leave corporate, which had to happen regardless of what I was going to do. That job really wasn't a good fit for me. So I left that and then really dived in to hone my gifts. They were already there. I just needed to acknowledge them. and really start helping other people with them. So that's been my passion. What I learned in my my path is that I'm very passionate about people who are having experiences and giving them an outlet for them to talk through that, because not only are they not imagining it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful gift that if they choose to become more intimate with it, even if just to be able to manage it, there's lots of resources out there, and I love helping them with that. So, back
around. Excuse me. I was just going to throw something in there just briefly, that compared to what you had described in the beginning when all these things were happening and you didn't really know where to put them all, that my description would be a bag of cats.
I mean, and I just got truth bumps, which when you said that. So yeah, it's extremely accurate. Greg, I'm telling you, there would be some days where I'd wake up and I'm like, okay, today's a good day. I'm feeling good. Everything's good. And I'm going through and I'm getting ready for work and I'm happy. I'm cheering up my daughter on the way to dropping her off to school. Traffic doesn't even bother me. And the moment I start walking into my work at the time, I could just feel it dragging me down. And it just, when you're working in such tight quarters with so many different people who are under deadline stress, who are under unhappy news, corporate is a great place for the people that are well suited for it. But if you're not prepared as an empath to be working in a place like that, it can be really sad. So then often what would happen is not only would I get short and unhappy throughout my day, but then I would come home exhausted and I'd have no time or energy or interest for my family or myself. And so that's why I think it's really important, the work that we do, to be able to share these experiences with others so that if it hits the right person, they can say, oh my God, that's me. I'm not alone. And there's someone who can help me through this.
Right. I was, as soon as you were finishing that up, I was thinking about cleansing oneself. And, something that's come into play for about the last 4 or 5 weeks since we had talked about it. And it's proved to be quite well suited for me to unload a lot of that stuff that you build up over a day, whether it's from somebody else or it's your own negative thoughts and actions, and you could just get rid of it. And Scotty has got that meditation that is well suited for that purpose. And I found it, and I'm only going to say it once, that, I really firmly believe in our family. And, like if you look at the people that are on here right now, there's a great deal of people here that we know, and that's a great thing, to be supported like that. So, as far as your vocal abilities are concerned, do you, or did I pick that up wrong, or did I write that down wrong, or?
Vocal abilities.
Besides personal, from Psychics Unite, vocal abilities.
So, I think that's more, that's really more about the psychic abilities. And so, and the different gifts. So the fascinating thing is when you start working with your abilities, then you start learning how spirit comes to you in different ways. And so, all I knew when I started working to really focus my abilities is that if I meditated, sometimes I'd have some amazing experiences that I would journal about. And every once in a while, those experiences would have like deep and profound messages for me. I also knew that if I asked a simple question and journaled about it, like, what does my guides want me to know today? Then I would usually get a message there too. And I would honor those for what they were, but I had no idea that I was at a place where I could do this for other people and help them if they choose to do this for themselves too. So among my abilities, I've learned that there's psychic is the umbrella term for a lot of different abilities, kind of like doctor. You could be a doctor of anything, right? So I am a medium. I speak to people and beings that are not of this realm. And so I use that to help others connect with their spirit guides or their passed on loved ones. And I've had some amazing experiences reading for other people, and the amount of validation that comes through, it would be really sad just to ignore that, knowing that these messages are coming through and meant for people and not honoring them. I also feel, so I'm clairsentient, what they call clairsentient. If I pick up certain objects, I can sometimes get an impression, but mostly my clairsentience is with my empathic abilities, which means I will pick up, earlier today you asked me if I could tell what you were about to say, and I was explaining that I would have to intentionally connect with your energy to try and assess that usually. Well, with my empathic abilities, that happens. That's something that just happens 24/7. It's by far my strongest ability. So that often gives me context and clues into what the energy of a room is, or if I'm working with someone, if they're upset, that is information that I can use to help them. And so the other abilities that I have is clairaudient. So I actually hear messages. I hear my name called often. The messages are usually in a different voice or even a different accent. And these aren't things that I would even imagine to make up. I'm just not that creative. So I take them for face value, and there's always some kind of validation that honoring those messages were the right thing to go. The thing about these messages that come through is they're never about harming myself or others. They're never negative. They're never at a lower vibrational energy, which is like fear, shame, guilt. If you are hearing messages that are of those qualities, it's most likely your ego trying to keep you from growing and expanding. So just being able to discern what messages you're getting, whether it's fear-based or love-based, and then honoring those messages from spirit as they come in. I'm also an educator. I like you mentioned earlier, I am really enjoying teaching everyone about these abilities and teaching them how to connect to their abilities. I am finding more and more that my clients are actually they know they have abilities, but they don't know that they're supposed to work with them more. And a lot of the messages that are coming through are validating that for them. Yes, psychometry, I do. Psychometry is a subset of that clairsentience where you feel things. But psychometry is specifically for picking up an object and reading the energy and the vibration of that. I spoke earlier about being an empath. That's a very strong gift. And then another gift that I get is claircognizance, where I just know things. I don't know how I know them. I just know them as clearly and as confidently as my name is Devin. So this usually comes out quite often when I am 5 minutes into watching a movie with my family and I just blurt out the entire plot. So I've ruined quite a few movies, not knowing what was going on.
Do they throw popcorn at you when you do that?
No, they're always secretly hoping that I'm wrong, but they usually say, right, yeah, you're probably right, but I think it's this. And in the end, there's always that truth that came out the beginning. Just, every once in a while. Huh?
It comes to what is it, fruition? I believe.
Fruition, yeah. Yeah, you got it. There are also, that also comes out like, I might just know the outcome of a certain scenario. So like if I've got an appointment coming up, and sometimes I'll get a feeling that it's canceled, and usually within the next, or within 5 to 10 minutes of it coming up, they'll be like, I can't do it. Can we reschedule? Sometimes like that, just knowing about something. And of course, you never brag about that. It's just information. All of this is simply information that empowers me to help others.
We're explaining this to people, and that's what it entails right then and there.
Right, exactly. So I don't consider myself special. I've made a pact with the Creator, Spirit, Divine, Universe, God, whichever label that you most prefer. I've made an agreement with them that, if they put me where I'm supposed to be, I will always be just a clear channel and supply the messages as I receive them. So, and that takes a great amount of trust, which I think is one of the biggest and most difficult things for people with psychic abilities to get used to.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. You're unbelievably talented. You have great gifts. That's the way to put that. And, there's a lot of people here, and, like somebody, I think it's Nicholas said, maybe it's Sharon, said that you're an incredible medium. And Chris Dahlberg is a Reiki master in that, and he's posted quite a bit. And Ron Lovett is in here, and Ron Lovett is a member of Ghost Research Society. Kelly's here, Julia O'Meara-Webster, great lady. Donna Chiron. Ingrid's here.
Hi everyone. Hi, Ingrid.
How's the East Coast, Ingrid? And quite a few other people. Of course, Jen's here.
Yeah, hi Jen. She's like my sister.
That makes the night complete. So, and let me just. It says you have a huge heart too, Devin.
Oh, yeah. That's honestly, I don't want to ignore Chris. Chris, I see your message. Thank you so much. You can reach me at devinevans.com. There's also a book. You can reach me and my booking page through Devin Evans Psychic Medium Facebook page. If you just search in Facebook, Devin Evans Psychic Medium. And then I am actually Devin E Medium or Divine Medium on Instagram, and you can reach me there too. But just a quick note on the big heart. So that I think is one of the things that all of my loved ones had picked up on when I was younger, was just how, and I was always taught, it always surprised me when I would go to a family reunion and someone I hadn't seen in like 6 months to 12 months were just like, yeah, don't worry about it, honey. I love a lot too. Like they just knew that there was a lot of love there and a lot of depth there, which I think is really, it's required for this work, to be able to come across and love and support others and acknowledge them and make them feel accepted for who they are.
Okay, so now, before we even go into that story, I would like to touch base on the respect of, you're going to be going ahead and you have this chapter in Ohio, and you have a Shadow Hunters group in Ohio. Now, why don't you give everybody a little idea where you're at with all that now and what you plan on doing in the near future?
Yeah, I'm behind. I feel like I'm behind, but really there is no behind. Everything's in its perfect place. That's a very human quality of mine, feeling like I'm not where I should be when I'm really perfectly where I'm at. So, and you are too. So Columbus, Ohio Psychics Unite, we have bi-weekly meetings. So every 2 weeks we host meetings over Zoom for now. And that is really the entire spirit of that is exactly what we've been talking about. Giving a safe space for others to come to a place and talk about their gifts and experiences, understand exercises and how to work with their abilities, and really just feel like they're not alone. I think that's been going really well. We've had new people pop in and out, and there's a Columbus, Ohio Psychics Unite Facebook group too. If you're in the Ohio region right now, I think because we're doing remotely, I would open that up to everyone in Ohio. But we're working on chapters throughout. So if Psychics Unite feels like something that you'd really like to participate in, every Monday night we have an all-chapter meeting and plus chapter meetings across major cities throughout the Midwest and southern states. So I think Terry and Scotty's goal is to actually have a chapter in every major city in the United States. So you definitely reach out to us if you'd like to learn more about that. And so eventually, when things become safe again, I want to start doing events. I want to find places that we can hold service at, like there's a local community festival that we could maybe attend, and be able to help others and share more information. And then, meet in person and have that fellowship too when it's more safe. And so for Shadow Hunters, I'm currently putting together a list of Ohio haunted hotspots that we can start investigating in 2021 safely as things unfold with current events with COVID. But I think the goal is that, we'll have, and some of the members from Psychics Unite are very interested in Shadow Hunters, which is the reason why there's such a sibling relationship between the two groups. So we've got some members that are very interested and ready to go. And it's just a matter of getting that schedule set and making sure everyone can meet the times that we've set up. And so eventually I'd love to get to the place where we can even potentially be invited into personal residences. So if there is someone who thinks that they're having experiences that potentially they could reach out to us and learn more about whether the noise they're hearing is paranormal or not. And so with our investigations, my intention is to use my abilities or any other psychics that are on the team to be able to find in the location where the energy is the strongest. And then once we go to that location or that place within the location, that's where we would bring out the tools to be able to find evidence that we can use to document our findings and share that information outward. So my intention with the Ohio Shadow Hunters team is to be very balanced in our in the tools that we use. But one of those tools is definitely going to be psychics and mediums. So, and then I think there's some goals there to do some cross investigations with other Shadow Hunter team members outside of Ohio. So there'll be a couple of Ohio locations that everyone will join us for, and then hopefully in Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin, there'll be other areas that we can join them for.
That's awesome. That's really, that's you're coming right along. That's beautiful.
I'm so excited. I feel like 2020 has been pulling back the slingshot, and 2021 is going to be releasing it. And then 2022 is going to actually been flying. I just feel like the future is very bright indeed. I'm very excited.
You remember that one Disney movie or whatever it was that had the killer whales, and it showed the fish hook, and on the end of the fish hook was the worm.
Yes.
And the kid was casting the worm, and the worm's like grabbed onto the hook, and it's like screaming.
Those are my plans.
I hope it's not that fast.
My plans are that worm. Yeah.
You'll have to run around with a pair of goggles on all the time.
I mean, whatever it takes. I'm that passionate.
Oh, that's just great. I just like to go ahead and throw things out there that it sets the pace, you know. And I know that, you know, a lot of the groups over the years haven't been reluctant. You know, a lot of times it's just the fact that there wasn't a psychic medium around to go ahead and be able to utilize.
Sure.
And when we were getting into the end of it, and, you know, I kept on talking to certain people about the fact that why even go into a location if you didn't have a set of eyes?
You know, I think there's benefits to both. I've heard some investigators who actually don't like to use mediums because they can't, in their opinion, they can't validate it. I think if you are using a medium or psychic, in addition to the equipment, there's always going to be that validation. Like, you can't deny if someone says, hey, I think this room is really active, you might get some hits here. And if you get hits here, like, that's not a coincidence. I think really well-grounded psychics who have practiced removing themselves from the equation and just literally being that conduit for the messages that they receive are going to be so beneficial to any investigation, because it helps it's like a compass, right? It's
right.
Like a nav finder. Check this general area, you might get something there. Now, ultimately, we don't control anyone or anything, right? So you can say that the energy's there, and maybe the energy is there, and the person is just like, I'm not gonna interact with you guys tonight. So that's the fun thing about ghost hunting. Ghost hunting is like the modern day treasure hunting, you know, when you do it respectfully. You never know what you're going to come across, and every experience is going to be a little bit different than the last. And the whole point is to try and get as much evidence as you can to be able to share with your friends.
Yeah, I know. Just thinking about some of the things and the places and where, you know, a lot of the groups are based with a big skeptic base, if you want to, you know, their base is skepticism, and, you know, it's to debunk everything that people find, and that's good. You know, I'm not saying it's not, but when you go ahead and you get into the fact, like you brought up about when the machines confirm what's been said before, it's hard to debunk that. And,
yeah.
You know, but they always bring that into play that, yeah, well, still, you know, you can't really. And it's well, what's the difference between you being there and me? You know what I'm saying? And then what do you do then? Yeah.
Well, you know, I always say I love skeptics. Bring the skeptics on. I'm actually a skeptic. That's why it took me 40 years to acknowledge my gifts and my abilities, right? I figured I was just imagining the conversations in my head, when really I've gotten some very strong evidence that that's not the case. What is harder to work with is anyone who's just closed-minded. And there's a big difference between a skeptic. I think a skeptic is relatively open-minded because they're out to find the truth, right? So they're going to continue to question as things come up until they find the truth. But I do ask that they be open-minded enough to be able to see things that they may not have been open to seeing before the experience. Someone who's closed-minded, I totally respect them too, but there's not much that I can help with there. because this work does require some faith. And there's a, and, let's address the fact that there are just some people out there who are doing this work with not the greatest of intention in it. So then that really does sour the experience for other people. And I understand why then you have people who are just closed to it. I just hate to see it, because if you get aligned with the right person for the right reasons, it can be a really beautiful thing that's actually pretty fascinating.
That's for sure. All of the groups, no matter where they are, the thing about this paranormal unity and everything, it's like everybody should just take care of their own street, their own backyard. And then I think everybody will be a little happier. And something that I've noticed considerably over the last couple of years with some of the groups is I've always tried to remain as neutral as I possibly could, no matter what the circumstance. It's not worth losing your focus over something like that when you're there to do a certain job, and you don't need to go and be interrupted by that kind of stuff. So to be in two different groups and see how the different people react, and have the opportunity to understand the research end of it and all the massive amounts of historical data that have been compiled over locations and things like that. And there's big differences between that too, and it depends on how you want to set it up and where you want to take it. And, there's a lot of groups around that you go ahead and say, well, what do you have you've been in existence for 10 years. What do you have from 10 years ago? Do you have, and it's like, so I find myself now trying to go ahead and make some sort of semblance to the madness, because all my good pictures are all over God's creation. I don't know where they are, and that's where it comes into play with us, and forging on, and you being as thorough as you are in how you go about things. That, I could see that you would go in that direction as far as maintaining some sort of historical record, or another one of those, what's that book called again that we keep, journals?
Oh yeah. Yeah. A couple of thoughts came up while you were sharing there, but just a quick comment on journals. I'm a big proponent for journals. If there's anyone out there who's looking to be able to develop a better relationship with themselves and get more aligned with their abilities, two things that you can do right off the bat is meditation and journaling. So you would just meditate every morning, every night, and it just needs to be a few minutes. It doesn't have to be anything grandiose. There's a couple of, the Calm app has some amazing meditations that you can try. And then journal about what you meditated on, what came up, what feelings, what impressions, colors, patterns, numbers. It doesn't matter if you don't have a meaning to it right then and there. Just being able to journal about it so that you can go back to it later is going to be a huge, huge win. But that aside, and dream journaling. If you have any dreams whatsoever, journal those down. Because the more you acknowledge and work with your abilities by giving them this energy of journaling, the more that they'll actually come up. But the thing about our industry, Greg, is that when you're working with paranormal investigations, you're literally working with everyone who is looking for evidence. So you are having to prove yourself over and over and over and over again. And that's fine. One of the tricky things, though, is there's no concrete definition of proof. Like there's no hierarchical law of what constitutes as the industry standard of paranormal investigative proof. So what could be proof for me, what could be proof for you, is going to be a little bit different than what's proof for someone on another team. And I think part of that has to do with the energy. Like, when you walk up to somebody, you're like, yeah, I like you. I don't know why I like you. I don't have to know, but I like you. And we're gonna start doing things together because I like you, which was pretty much how I felt about everyone I met in Psychics Unite, including you and Sharon and Julie and Nick and everyone. Donna and Ingrid, and Jen, obviously, Scotty, I can't name them all, but I'm going to try. When you have that group of people that you're investigating with that you have energetically vetted, you're going to feel more confident that they're coming from a place that matches your energy. Now, another team who maybe is more focused on equipment only, totally fine, totally respect that. They're going to find other investigators that match that energy and align to that. So I love the analogy that you give about how everyone just kind of tends to their own backyard, because I just want to have fun. I want to have fun, and I want to make people feel safe and acknowledged and accepted, or help people feel that way. That's my only intention and goal. So I think in our industry, intention is a huge thing. What do you intend with this investigation? And intention is going to be very personal for every team or every organization. And that's just something that you've got to respect, or that we would ask that you would respect. And then you'll find people who match that intention to join you.
That's for sure. Now, I think we can go ahead and get into it.
Okay.
Okay. And when we first went on our first investigation together, and we went to the Rhodes Hotel, there was one thing that really stood out for me, and the magnitude of it was, it took me about 10 days to really grasp what had gone on. I've been watching another show that deals with another person who deals with spirit communication, and at the end of his program, and that's Greg Bakken that was on
Yeah.
and he crosses people over at the end of his program. Now, that's to me is, that's like shooting the moon. I mean, it's for what we experienced, and then you go ahead and you take that, say for instance, fivefold. How can you grasp that? You know what I mean? So that's the background. And now you and I were together, and we were going to go back up in the attic, and you take it on. It's all yours.
Yeah, I will. So we were together in the attic with another investigator. And it was the three of us. We had an EMF detector, a K2, and we had a couple of other light sensors down toward the end of the attic. And you were leading some of the questions with the energies that are around there. And there were quite a few energies. You and I had investigated the attic just a little bit earlier in the evening, definitely felt, energy up there. And so the questions that you had been asking were getting great responses with the EMF detector. So we would see all the lights light up for a yes, no, just the one standard light lit up for a no. And you had eventually gotten to the point where you'd asked if the spirit needed help, or if this ghost needed help. And it actually said yes. And with your questioning, you had indicated that it felt trapped here. And so I worked directly with the spirit. His name was Jacob. And he was not a regular at the Rhodes Hotel. You have to understand, the spirits that I had encountered earlier that evening in the Rhodes Hotel were all very content and happy in staying there. I have absolutely no problem with that. They enjoy the agreement that they have with the current owner. They love the fact that he's a steward for the place and kind of lets them do their thing. And, most nights they really do enjoy interacting with teams who are respectful. So this is someone who, because I was there investigating other spirits, had found me and had asked me for help. Jacob's story is that he had been in relation with this woman named Anna, and they had actually met in death. They hadn't actually known each other in life, but wherever Jacob had passed away, Anna was there to kind of scoop him up. And so she tethered him here. Even though we have free will, Jacob felt very sorry for Anna and became to feel very responsible for Anna. Anna was kind of like the jealous girlfriend, boyfriend, wanted all attention on her, all eyes on her. She really wanted Jacob's world to only be her. And Jacob had gotten to the point where he was growing tired. He didn't like staying around. He wanted to transition. And I think that's like our natural soul's tendency to want that. But he felt trapped. He didn't feel like he had the permission to be able to do that. Now, the first thing that I tell everyone in these scenarios is every being has free will. I don't actually move anyone on. I literally talk to them like a friend to show them their options so that they can make the decision for themselves. And so a lot of the times when ghosts find us, the biggest thing that they want is they want someone to hear their story. Unless it's someone who was relatively not nice in life, ghosts find you and they just immediately want to start talking about their story. Someone who's not nice in life will often be a mean ghost, and you'll have to maybe put some boundaries around that conversation and basically treat it like, hey, if you want my attention, you're going to behave for it so that we can have a conversation, and just kind of, contain that relationship. Sometimes it works, sometimes they have to go on their way because they're not actually interested in talking. But Jacob definitely was. He was a very, very nice guy. So I shared with Jacob the rule about free will, and I reassured him that whatever decision he makes, Anna will have the same decision available to her. Like, she's not trapped, he's not trapped, and that if she wishes, I would also support her in listening to her story and talking to her about her options too. And so I do for these ghosts a lot like what I do for the living, and I show them what they could potentially be missing on the other side, so that if they decided to transition, they get glimpses or images of the people that are there for them. I see their past loved ones who have transitioned. I see specific places in the other side that are empty because they're not there to fill those roles. Because a lot of times I think ghosts miss feeling belonging, like they miss that feeling of belonging. And so they learn then through our conversations that they do have loved ones over there, that it's not a scary devil looking to condemn them, or it's not, judgment ready to, belittle them, and that there's actually places for them to belong again. So not always, but usually once you show a ghost what their options are and what they have available on the other side, they're more open to crossing over. So here's the thing that most ghosts don't understand, is that they have the ability to cross over anytime they want. But because of the energy that they're stuck in and the mentality that they've retained since they passed away, their human mentality, they do feel stuck and trapped. They feel like sometimes they can't empower themselves to cross over. But usually once they get that inclination, like, hey, I think I do want to cross over, that's when the white light opens up. It's them doing it, not me. And that's when their loved ones have come through to meet them, to help them transition. And that's what happened with Jacob that night. He saw his mother and his sister, and he went to them and crossed over beautifully. So I was really blessed and humbled to be able to have that conversation with him and help him. Now, I've had other ghosts that we get to that point in the conversation where I'm like, this is what could be, this is what you could be having on the other side. And they're like, nope, I'm still not ready. And I'm like, I totally understand that and respect that. If you ever change your mind, come find me. So if they're not ready, I'm not pushing them at all. I don't like it when people push me into decisions, so I would never do that for someone else either.
That's why I brought it up. And, it was that, Jen and Steve Hodgson had been on the show, and I related the story to them. And it was incorrect because I wasn't the one that really should relate it. You are, because you're the person that really understands the whole period, the whole picture. I have parts of it. I don't have it all together. And the important part is that all the people that would be listening today should understand it wasn't our intention on doing that when we went there. This is something that happened. It's just random, and that's the important part, because we don't go about doing our business intending on going to places and crossing people over.
No, because I understand a lot of these beautiful places that are open to investigation, like, that's a big part of their lives. There's no way. I mean, even if that was my intention to cross everyone over, it's not going to happen, because most of these ghosts, they're there for the long haul. Like, they've had many opportunities to talk to other mediums that may have come in and spoken with them, and they're just not interested. Jacob was someone that came in from outside the roads, typical ghosts, and the ghosts at the roads they're a lot of fun. They really enjoy.
There's a lot of hot mamas in there.
Yeah, there was one lady that just kept telling me, come on upstairs, I'll take care of you. Come on upstairs, I'll take care of you. She was just having a blast.
For those people that don't understand what we're talking about, that at one time or three times, that place was considered a house of ill repute. Yeah. Better yet, of the fun shack. So let's see.
Thank you, Dan.
I can confirm that Greg was really impressed with what you did for Jacob. You're all he talked about for days after that happened.
But you see, here's the thing. Here's another example where I take my gifts for granted, because I just felt like I was just there doing what God wanted me to do in that moment, right? I had no idea until I saw your reaction, Greg, how humbling it was. And so it actually gave me a little bit more reverence. I mean, obviously I always had reverence, but I never thought it was something that would impress others, because that's not the way.
Oh, wow. It was amazing. It was just, I'm never going to forget it. I'm really not. I don't care what else happens. That's something that's right up on top of that list of things that you see and you actually understand what is happening. And like you say with your show, it's like truth bumps. And all of a sudden, you just get the rush. And I think for me, that's more of a confirmation, the rush. And It's been that way. And I know that, the things that I've learned and the people that are around me that help me on everything, You know, it's great. And I know that, you know, we're always going to be around, you know, one way or the other. If I have to start bothering you, you know, after I leave or whatever happens.
Listen,
you know.
if any of my friends transcend and don't come to see me, I'm going to be so, I'll find you.
Okay. That's the great part, you know, it's like, you know, there's so much going on and people get, you know, and it's like, where else would I want to be right now? And I'm not saying because of COVID, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just literally saying that, you know, to be in this position and start to understand the magnitude of the things that we're talking about, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah,
I may sleep longer, but you know what? I'm fine with it.
Right. No, and that's what it comes down to. Like I look at it as I'm just here, and I'm just basically I take every moment by moment, and if there's an opportunity to step up into my job, which is really what I consider divinely guided work, then I'm not here to question it. I just do it. And especially when we're talking about helping ghosts and relaying messages from spirit, it's always in a place of love, and it's always in a place of support. So it's never about curses, doom and gloom. It's never about danger. I think that's some dramatic tactics that might come up in other areas, but not when you're dealing and relaying messages from spirit.
I know there's somebody on here right now that was with me at the trip that we took to Gettysburg, who is another very sensitive woman. I mean, gifted, very gifted. And she made a comment to me the other day on the telephone pertaining to when I was down in the triangular field and I had the Confederates were in the woods. And I went down there just as another soldier wanting to just share with them. And she said to me, this is Damaris. And she said to me that she watched me and I was standing still for quite some time. And I don't remember any of that. I don't. I remember talking to them and actually feeling like with the truth bumps that they were recognizing the fact of why I was there. And I had asked them if I could help them with anything. And I was awestruck. I was genuinely, I mean, that was sort of the beginning to everything that's been happening now. I mean, besides the things that happened to me when I was younger, that was a defining moment. And I didn't do it with anybody else. I did it by myself. And you know what? Every time I would have the opportunity to go back there, if I do, that is going to be the first place I go because it felt like home.
Yeah.
You know,
I definitely get. Yeah.
And that's really beautiful, you know, and you said a lot of great things. I'm sorry I screwed up a little bit on some of the notes that I had.
Greg, you're perfect. Everything was fantastic. I had such a great time tonight.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Here's to another one down the road.
Yes.
For the next year. We'll get it going again. And I'll just mention really fast to everybody that, you know, like we're all part of Psychics Unite, and on Monday nights we have the meeting at 6:30. Tuesday night is Sharon's Oracle card readings at 7:00. And that's a great show, and Sharon's just a ball of fun. So
she is. I love Sharon.
Wednesday night is Scotty Talks About. That's Scotty Rourke. and he has a bunch of people that have been around the paranormal for quite some time that go ahead and say a lot of great things and give a lot of great stories. And Thursday night, of course, is our lovely Devin, who does Truth Bumps. And then you've got me at the end of the line, but it's great. And there's what else is there? I got to make sure I cover all my bases tonight because
We've got YouTube channels we're trying to promote.
Okay, we got all the YouTube channels that are for Psychics Unite. Shadow Hunters is on YouTube too. Next week we have Terry Sacco Rhodey, and Tracy Watts, and they're from Florida, and their members there's a 2-man team, and that's ESP Paranormal.
Oh, very cool.
And they're old friends of Shadow Hunters, and they were with Nick and the team when they first went to Pollock Hospital.
Awesome.
And all the wild stuff that happened there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to shut down. Hey, it's been a blast. Hugs. Love and hugs, lady.
Yes.
It's been awesome. I'm glad I had you on. It made my night.
Thank you so much. This has been an absolute honor and a pleasure. I love you, Greg. Thank you. And thank you, everyone.
Okay, Devin. Sleep tight.
You too.
Good night.
Night.